This video will focus on the Georgia Standards of Excellence 3 NBT1, which states that students will use place value understanding to round whole numbers to the nearest 10 or 100. Students in second grade develop a strong understanding of place value. This then leads to applying that place value understanding when rounding to the nearest 10 or 100. Fourth graders extend rounding to larger numbers and rounding within any place, while fifth graders extend their understanding to rounding decimals. When teaching rounding, it is important to focus on place value understanding instead of relying on rhymes and riddles. Tricks encourage students to skip the place value understanding that is critical for making sense of the math and applying it to real-world situations. To help build conceptual understandings, students can create rounding models. In this example, students use color-coded dots to signify numbers on a number line that would round to a specific multiple of 10. As students built the models, they were able to visualize the midpoints between each multiple of 10 and think about numbers and how rounding applies to numbers that are greater than and less than each benchmark number. What numbers round to 60?
61 and 62 and 63 and 64.
Is there anything that's less than 60 that would round to 60? Okay.
59.
Okay, anything else?
58 and 57.
Yes, what's the midpoint between 60 and 50? What's the middle? What's the midpoint?
50.
Right.
55.
55. So if something's at 55, right in the midpoint, would it round to 60 or would it round to 50? When it's right in the middle and it's the same distance.
60.
Yes, it rounds to 60. As shown on this Learn Zillion video, as students develop an understanding of rounding on a number line, open number lines can be introduced that allow students to determine the benchmark numbers and increments. Students can also use curved number lines to help visualize the midpoint and understanding that when a number is at the midpoint or above, it will round to the larger benchmark number. Numbers that fall below the midpoint are closer to the lowest benchmark number. It is also important to model that increments can change between the benchmark numbers when rounding to the nearest 10 or 100. The increments may not always signify counting by ones. The Georgia frameworks also contain many relevant tasks. In this activity, students use a number line to solve a variety of problems. I am a number that rounds to 40. What could I be?
You could be 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, or 44, 43, 42, or 41.
How do you know?
Because 44, 43, 42, and 41 are all below the midpoint of 45, so they round down. 35 itself is a midpoint. 36, 37, 38, and 39, they're above the midpoint, and 35 is the midpoint, so it rounds up.
So the closest 10 is 40. Okay, Jay has about 70 baseball cards. That means he rounded to 70 because he has about 70. Mm-hmm. And Mark has exactly 72 baseball cards. Is it possible for Jay to have more baseball cards than Mark?
Yes, because Jay rounded to 70. It wasn't exactly, so we could have had 73 or 74.
Jalen says that she has about 50 stickers. She rounded to 50. And Tamika has exactly 48 stickers. Could Jalen have less stickers than Tamika since she rounded?
Yes, because Jalen could have been here, 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 where Tamika is, or 49.
Yes, so which numbers would be less than Tamika?
47, 46, and 45.
An extension to this activity is to use hundreds charts that expand up to 1,000. How many numbers will round to 300 when rounding to the nearest 100? Students can think about the midpoint that comes above and below 300. they will discover that there are 100 numbers that round to 300. How many numbers will round to 300 when rounding to the nearest 10? Again, students can think about the midpoints that come above 300 and below 300. There are 10 numbers that round to 300 when rounding to the nearest 10. Another task that can be found in the Georgia frameworks is the Great Roundup. In this task, students work with a partner to record their answers on the recording sheet. They will also need 3 dice that have the digits 0 through 9. Students roll the dice and make the largest number possible. This number is then rounded to the nearest 100. What's the largest 3-digit number you can make?
642.
642. Can you do that for me? Okay. What is the nearest 100 that 642 would round to?
It rounded to 600.
600. Can you draw that on the number line for me over here?
Okay. Oh.
Can you show me what the benchmark numbers would be for 642? What hundreds is 642 in between?
600.
And what else? 600?
700.
And 700, okay. And what would the midpoint be between 600 and 700?
650.
650. Okay, so where do you think 642 would fall on our number line?
Actually, it will be
Right here. So 642 would round to 600 or 700?
600.
Good job. What's the largest 3-digit number you can make?
930.
930. So what 200s is 930 in between?
900 and 1,000.
900 and 1,000. That's right. We have 900s and 1000s. And what is the midpoint between 900 and 1,000?
950.
So where would 930 fall on your number line?
About right there.
And it would round to, what's the
900?
nearest 100? That's right. A similar task is shake, rattle, and roll. Students roll 3 die. They create the smallest number possible and round to the nearest multiple of 100. They then create the largest number possible and round to the nearest multiple of 100. The multiples are then added together to find the estimated sum. Students can add up their final scores and check their work with a calculator if needed. Providing a variety of hands-on and interactive activities is critical for helping students utilize place value understanding when rounding. As students reflect on the benchmark numbers and number placement, they deepen their conceptual understanding. With this interactive gizmo, students can use a flat number line or number lines that are shaped like hills. The increments on the number line can also be modified. With this gizmo, students can round to the nearest 10 or 100. By zooming out, additional numbers are shown with additional hills. When students zoom in, the span of numbers decreases. As students place dots onto the number line, they can determine which benchmark number the number will round to. If a dot is placed at the midpoint, they can nudge the midpoint to see which benchmark number it will go. To view additional activities, please visit GeorgiaStandards.Org. In addition to the tasks mentioned in this presentation, Unit 1 contains additional links to a variety of intervention and enrichment activities.